something difference between waterfall, which is traditional project management, then agile project management. So the main difference is basically on the philosophy side, right? So there are few differences. Main differences is in the philosophy. The philosophy is and where the problem happens, right? Same thing what we discussed in the CPM part or the critical chain project management. In critical chain project management, what we told, if a project manager is telling, I'll not going to handle or I'll not going to micromanage, right? So you have committed me something, I am taking half of the time out of it. You come back and ask me if, and try to complete within that 50% of the time. In case you are not able to complete, please come to me and I'll give you that additional time, right? So I trust you and you should trust me also, right? So the main factor of trust, right? Or taking certain ownership. That is one big challenge or philosophy in agile project management. In a traditional project management, what happens? Let's say I am trying to create application or a software, so there will be developers, testers, software architect, then product owners, product managers. So there will be different roles, right? And each of them will be assigned some task, right? So when we talk about assignment, so as a project manager or program manager, I have to tell that you are the owner of, you are responsible for this task and you have to complete within certain number of days or number of hours, like whatever has been discussed and agreed upon, right? So this is where the assignment, right? Somebody is assigning you one task, right? But in the agile management, what happens? You have to take the ownership. So it is not that, okay, you are a developer and you have to complete this development within next 3 days or 5 days. So when, and we'll discuss that maybe today or in the next class. So when we talk about that scrum meeting or the sprint meeting every day, so in the every day, so there is a planned 15 minutes meeting. What will be done today, right? So individual has to tell that, okay, what are the tasks he or she is going to do today or in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, right? So this is where the sumoto, they are coming and telling that, okay, I will take this task. If nobody is there, they'll collaborate and say that, okay, we both of will try to complete this task. And sometimes, let's say you do not have knowledge about that area, right? You'll take some help from the expert, right? So this is where the major challenge happens in the agile. When you say that there is nobody who will going to force you, you have to complete this task within next 2 days or next 3 days. You are taking that ownership that, okay, I will complete that task or I'll take this task. And this is where the, if some companies like, let's say, traditional companies, or the newest technology companies like Google or Facebook are able to do better in this regard due to their culture, right? So there are high performing people who are taking ownership. Okay, I do not know this, okay, but I'll learn this and able to complete this within next 2 weeks, which becomes a problem in not that much in the middle or at least the lower end software companies, right? So agile project management, agile, as you know, that speed, right? Fast. Again, definition is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result using agile values, principles, and techniques, right? So this is where agile values, principles, techniques in the right side. Focus on the customer value. So it is not only you are like looking into it. So remember what we discussed in a traditional project management. Scope is fixed. So I'm not going to gold plate it, right? Whatever customer wanted, if he has or she has told in the beginning, that is the only thing I'm going to give. I'm nothing additional I'm going to give. So that is a bad thing in a traditional project management. I need not have to gold plate it. But in agile project management, the more the better, or the better features, the better, right? So I'm not looking into the scope. I'm looking into what customer actually get, whether customer will get a value out of it or not, right? Iterative and incremental delivery. So there is not a fixed scope in the beginning. Okay, you need to create a website and these are the features. Everything has been written in a document, 20 page or 30 page of a document, and it has given to you. Not like this. So in the beginning, let's say somebody wants to create a website, right? So they'll come up with the idea that, okay, I want to build an website which will help me to integrate, let's say, local these shop owners to sell their products to outside this state, outside the state of Odisha, right? So then what are the different part of that website? So there will be a website feature where all the products will be shown. There will be one feature where there will be a shopping cart where customers can go and put that into their shopping cart. Then there will be third integration where the payment mechanism. cash on delivery or through a card, through UPI, those things need to be integrated. Then where your like information will be stored, how to integrate with your CRM database, right? So these are the different parts, right? So this is where your, it is not that in the beginning all things are defined and you'll create after 6 months and you'll give that to website. So in the first part, you might take that, okay, let me just create the user interface. How does it look or feel to open that website in a mobile phone or a desktop? Once you have created that and shown you to that company who is given you that project and he says yes, it looks okay, now you proceed. Now you go to the next step, start uploading the pictures, put a shopping cart, then you go back again to the your stakeholder and say that okay, this part we have completed. So this is where your iterative incremental delivery, right? So it is not a fixed scope has been given and you complete within 6 months and give that product or give that website. So each 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you complete some part of the work. And this is what, when we say part of the work, so there is a definition of PSP, potentially shippable product, right? So when you say part of the work, that should be in a such a way that some module has been completed. So that a user can see it and say that, okay, yes, this module has been completed. Experimentation and adaptation, right? Each time the incremental delivery you are making, whatever you learn it, you are trying to use it in the next delivery or in the next iteration, right? Self organization, this is what I was talking about, right? So it is not a fixed structure that okay, you are a developer, you are going to develop the course or write the course. There is something tester who are going to test the code. So the roles are not fixed, right? Roles are flexible and it is self organized, right? Depending upon where the load is or where there is much requirement, you will take the ownership as a resource person to complete that work. Continuous improvement, kaizen, right? Every iteration happens, you have to make sure that the time it takes to complete a work gradually is getting reduced, right? So these are again like written in the same format, design upfront. So scope is defined in the beginning, continuous design, right? Keep iterations, fixed scope, flexible deliverables, features or requirement. So deliverables means you have defined, so this is what I'll complete. Features or requirement means you are looking from user side. Deliverables, you are just looking from the project side. Okay, this work has been assigned to me, I'll complete this. But by completing this deliverable, what is the, am I able to satisfy the requirement of a customer, right? So if my customer is a, and I'll give you that example. Let's say this right now, this new inform or new news, recently news came. So you from the ATM you need not have to have a ATM card to withdraw money, right? And that is somewhere the experimentation is starting, right? So without your ATM card, if you have that number and you can link it to your mobile phone, you go to ATM, put that number and withdraw cash, right? This ATM card will not be required right now, I think. Let's say for that, so what is the user story, right? So you write some codes in the back and it will be integrated to the ATM machines, data being collected, then verified, then the cash withdrawal is happening, right? Because there is nothing to read the information in your ATM card, right? All the transactions will happen over a whatever mobile you have, right? So or whatever UPI payment system you have. Now the point is, what is a like kind of, who is your user right now? Whether that bank was providing the work or the end user, right? Because you have to look into both the way, right? When we are looking into this traditional project management, bank has given me a software project, I complete that and it is done. But when we talk about agile, remember that it is about the customer value. Is it, does it makes life easier for my end customer also, right? I have to look into that way also. Please design as easy as possible, please design as late as possible. It takes a lot of iteration to complete a work, complete a project. Low uncertainty, high uncertainty, right? Because if when I say that my scope is fixed, uncertainty I'm reducing, right? This is the only thing I'm going to do and complete and give it to the customer. Higher uncertainty means flexible, right? You keep changing depending upon the requirement from the customer. Let's say your customer comes back and say that there is a huge latency in fetching the data from the server, right? When a customer is opening the web page, it is taking at least 10 to 12 seconds. So there is a study, after 6 seconds, people will not, 80% of your customer in today's world, if your website is taking 6 seconds, people will leave your website. So if my website is taking 10 to 12 seconds, 80% of my potential customers are gone. So how to reduce the latency? So now you look into and make those changes, right? Avoid change, embrace change, right? So you remember what we discussed in the traditional project management: risk, unknown risk. Some risks are potentially good, some risks are potentially bad, right? So there are different risk mitigation strategies: avoid, accept, mitigate, all those things, right? Low customer interaction, high customer interaction. So this is again a significant point. Generally, customer gives you a project. This, let's say, you get a project from whichever company, like for a breeze completion, right? So government of India or state government provides a project to L&T or Tata projects, completing a bridge between over a river, right? 4 kilometer or 5 kilometer length of bridge, right? So project tender has been completed, then done. Then maybe every quarter or every 6 months there will be audit. The government personals or IS officers will be coming and visiting and looking into the progress, right? So limited customer interaction, not on day-to-day basis or weekly basis. Here, what happens, because you have not fixed what is your scope. Every week or every 2 to 3 weeks, there will be interaction with the stakeholders, right? Conventional project teams, self-organized project teams. So difference between conventional project teams and self-organized project teams is, in conventional project teams, the project manager or program manager will assign the task. You have to complete this task by this. Obviously, it is not that you have, like, it is basically based on the discussion, but again, somebody is assigning you a task, right? But in a self-organized, you yourself is taking that ownership. These are the 5 tasks are left. I'll take the ownership of this task one. Somebody else will take the ownership of task four, like this, right? So overall, so we keep building in a rough idea. So new product, not that the scope is clear. So in each iteration, we try to improve the idea and try to get a better product, right? We start with a rough idea of creating a website, then build some user interface, then jump in and create some shopping cart, then build some payment page, then overall, at the end, my full complete website is ready for my customer, right? So in each iteration, I'm taking the comments, feedback from the customer, end customer, and try to see that whether it is useful to him or her, right? Before we jump into this Scrum, right, how the Agile project management works, so this is very important. This is overall gives the if you talk about Agile project management, if you remember this, everything is done, right? This is the most important slide. Everything is defined here. Then later on in the next slide, we are going to learn one by one, right? Overall, this is a summary of your Scrum, right? For the Agile project management. Again, Agile is a overall scope. Scrum is a technique, right? Then there are extreme programming is a technique, a project management method. Scrum is method, one method, right? So there are different methods. 80%, 70 to 80% of the time, Scrum is utilized, right? But there are other methods also. Like I said, extreme programming is another project management technology. So what we are covering here is Scrum. So anybody having any doubt what we have discussed so far? So generally your inputs will be coming from, again, we'll discuss this in detail. What are the different Scrum roles? Inputs from executive team, stakeholders, customers, users. So all the inputs gathered. So there will be somebody. So there are three major roles in a this Scrum technique, right? Product owner, right? So we do not have a concept of project manager in this Agile or in the Scrum technique, right? So it is product owner, your development team, the team which will be working on that project. Then there is something called Scrum Master. So product owner is something who is basically kind of a connecting point between your customers, right? Business owners and the team, right? Your project team. Scrum Master is somebody who is looking into, like, parallel to a project manager, but he doesn't have the authority, right? He is somebody who is just looking into the process side of it. So he is not going to assign you any task, because if he or she starts assigning the task, so your philosophy of Scrum or philosophy of Agile is not working. So he is just looking into the process part. How are we able to adhere to all the processes, guidelines, what we have been discussed and agreed upon, right? Then obviously there is a team, project team, which is going to work on this, right? So generally how the work happens, we divide how total. So what is a product backlog, sprint backlog? I'll discuss that later on. So just think about product backlog is a list of deliverables, list of features, a list of things we need to complete, right? Then there is something called a peak user story, which I'll show you what we mean by that. So just think about right now, just think about that. There are certain work need to be completed, right? So in a list of work will be there in a product backlog, right? Then the team discusses that. So there is something called sprint. Sprint, the literal meaning of sprint is running very fast, right? For a short distance, you're running very fast. So this sprint week you have to decide. Sprint time you have to decide. That is something known as time box, right? So and once you decide that okay, we will get into a 2-week time period or 3-week time period or 4-week time period, that will be fixed for your overall project length, right? So what do you mean by that? I'll take that same example. Let's say we want to build a website, right? For a startup who is going to integrate all the local shops, kirana shops in Odisha, right? They are starting with Odisha, then they will jump into other something like a miso kind of thing, right? So now the challenge is so first to divide into different kind of user stories. What is a user story also? So that will be there in your product backlog. So let's say there are 100 items, 100 things to do, right? Out of that, which are the most important thing? Which is the first thing to do? Obviously, first you have to create at least the basic skeleton of a website, right? Some user interface, something has to be there to show it to your client or to the customer. So this is what in the beginning you will say that okay, these are the few things which will start with, right? Then you decide how much time it will take. So if you think that it will take 3 weeks or 4 weeks, let's say we decide that 4 weeks. So that 4 weeks means once you decide 4 weeks, every 4 weeks there will be a sprint. So this is very interesting or unique, right? So every 4 weeks, so once I decide that okay, within 4 weeks we need to complete this. So there will be every 4 weeks. That means every month we have a sprint. So one project will be around 50 sprints, 100 sprints. Some big project will have 200 sprints, depending upon the sprint duration, right? So this sprint duration you have to define in the beginning. When I say you, your product owner, your Scrum Master, and the team, right? So once you have decided that, right, think about in this way, right? We need to complete a syllabus, right? And this project management or any course which I'm teaching, right? So once I decide that every 15 weeks or every week there will be assignment, right? So then I'm saying that is my sprint. We'll complete some chapter, then there is a deliverable. Deliverable is let's say this class assignment. Then complete some of the syllabus, then again one assignment, right? So that is your deliverable. So that time period, 1 week or 2 week, I have to define in the beginning. And we all agree upon that, okay, every 1 week or every 2 week, there will be class assignment or class exercise, right? So this is, think about this as your project. If your project is to complete some work, you divide into a lot of sprints, 50 sprints or 30 sprints or 100 sprints. That each sprint duration will be fixed. That is between 1 to 4 weeks. When I say 1 to 4 weeks, decide whether it is 2 week, 3 week, or 4 week. It is not that one sprint will be 1 week, other sprint is 4 weeks. Once you decide that we are going to go ahead with a 4 week sprint, that means you will complete the work. Whatever work you complete within 4 weeks, you go and show it to customer. Customer says okay, then we'll proceed to the next sprint, right? Is this definition or what I just discussed clear or not? Anybody having any doubt? What do we mean by a sprint? And this concept is known as time boxing, right? You are putting a range to your sprint. What should the duration of a sprint? So if you're think here sprint end date and team deliverables do not change, right? So generally, once we define that, okay, we are going to go ahead with a 3 week or 4 week or 2 week or 1 week of sprint. So that duration, like every week, I'll give you a class assignment or a class exercise, that has to be fixed, right? No matter what happens. Then every day there is something called daily Scrum meeting, right? So this is a 15 minutes duration of meeting. Again, we'll discuss this later on in the slide. You will, as a team member, and mostly Scrum Master is there. Sometimes product owner might join. So that day, what you are going to do is 3 things you have to decide. What was done in the, so it is not that a detailed discussion, right? Yesterday, what was done, today, what need to be done, what are the challenges? These are the 3 questions every team member might speak about 1 minute or 30 seconds. So yesterday I completed this, today I plan to do this. This is one challenge which I am facing, right? Then Scrum Master will note down all the challenges and he will be the facilitator. Let's say somebody has a problem with the IT team, software updates, or somebody has a problem with that he is going on leave next week. It can be HR issue also. He might is going on a leave. So who is going to like kind of complete his task, right? So every employee, or not every employee, those who are in that project team, right? 5, 10, 15, 20. If it is a big team, again you have to divide into smaller teams, right? Then once your that duration of sprint is over, 2 weeks or 3, so every day you will have a daily scrum meeting with the scrum master and your team members. Then once that 15 days or 3 weeks, whatever you have decided in the beginning, sprint duration, right, is over, there is something called sprint review. Here stakeholders, the customers will come and see that what you have completed, right? Then so here in a sprint, in the end of the 3 weeks, you are completing some part of the work. When I say finished work, obviously not the full project, part of the work which you have taken commitment that okay, we'll complete this part of the work in next 3 weeks or 4 weeks. You complete that, show it to your like kind of project like partners, stakeholders, users. If they say that okay, go ahead, then you jump into the other task, other sprint, right? If they say no, rework has to be done, then again come back and work on that. Then sprint retrospective is something like after sprint, you as a team member, again users won't be there, product owners won't be there. As a team, you just get together and they say that what went well and what went wrong. It is basically learning, right? Learning from the sprint, right? So this is what the overall structure of a Scrum methodology, right? How you manage a project in a agile project management technique. One of the technique is Scrum, right? uh, Anybody having any doubt, any questions? Again, anyhow, I'll discuss one by one in little detail. So these are again the some of the definitions. Sprint means one iteration of the agile planning Scrum development strategy. Again, this is one of the strategies. There are other strategies also. Time box the length of any particular sprint fixed in advance during the Scrum meeting. So in the beginning itself, you will fix that for all the sprints, right? It is not that one sprint will be 1 week, other sprint 2, other is 3. If you decide my sprints will be of 3 weeks, every 3 weeks you have to deliver something to the users, right? User stories. What is a user story? Also, that short explanation of the end user that captures what they do or what they need to from the project under development, right? So this is little different from the what in the traditional project management. In the traditional project management, already deliverables are given. Think about it in this way: if I'm going with a sprint or agile methodology of a highway construction, in a traditional project management, what happens? Highway need to be constructed for next 100 kilometers from this point A to this point B. This should be the material used, this should be the depth, this should be the width, this should be the length. This kind of toll gates construction has to happen. So these are the deliverables, right? But when you look into the user story, so who are my users? So these are the persons who will travel on that highway. So these are the requirement from them. I will be using this highway for this by doing this, right? So this is a format of a user story. I'll show you that. So we are just looking into the customer end, right? Not only as a deliverable. Why somebody is going to use this highway, right? So for transport goods, for transport vehicles, personal vehicles, commercial vehicles. So when is the majority of commercial vehicles will travel? When is the majority of personal private vehicles will travel, right? Then what is the difference? What is the load bearing, right? We have to look into that way, right? Rather than looking into okay, this is the material we'll use, this is the length, deliver breadth and width, right? So we are always looking into the customer end. Scrum Master person, the project team responsible for moving the project forward between iterations. So basically, he is like a facilitator, right? But again, there is a difference between project manager in a traditional project management. He has some authority, right? He is going to assign you some tasks. Scrum Master generally should avoid like assigning any task to anybody, right? Sprint backlog, what remained in the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, right? So product backlog is a list of items, deliverables you have to complete. Out of that, you know, in this next 3 weeks, you'll be able to complete only first 5 or first 10, right? So that is will come to your sprint backlog. Sprint backlog means in that particular sprint, what are the tasks or deliverables we are going to complete. Burn down chart. So I'll show you what is a burn down chart. Whatever task deliverables we keep completing, right? So we say that okay, this task has been completed, this much remaining, right? Or it can be a burn up chart means it is in a linearly moving line, increasing line. That means how much task we gradually complete or how much task remaining. So when you say how much task remaining, this is a burn down chart. When you say how much task we keep completing, that is a burn up chart, right? Product owner, development team, product backlog. So again, like I said, that is the list of total items need to be completed. Prioritize list of everything that might be needed to complete a product or source of requirement. Work backlog, evolving prioritize queue of business. So this is where the users it is coming, right? So this work backlog will come from the user, product backlog from the product owner, sprint backlog will be created by the development team who is going to develop the product. So how basically your user story, how like when I say that that the requirement is it is not a deliverable or requirement, it is something like this, right? Product backlog, as a user, as a person, I want to be able to withdraw my cash so that I can spend it or I can use it. Or as a let's say user or as a customer, I want to be able to purchase items very efficiently, right? So this is where your product backlog. So all the requirement will be in this format, right? As a user story, right? What does a user needs from the work, right? It is not in a deliverable format. Create a e-commerce website. As a customer or as a vendor, I should be able to use this website to sell my product. Or as a customer, I should be able to use this website to buy a product which are locally made or locally sourced, right? Without any problem. So this is a user story. We are looking from the user side rather than create a, in the traditional project management, what would have happened? Create a e-commerce website which can take a customer load or customer visit of 10,000 or 50,000 customer at any one point of time, right? So this is a deliverable like traditional project management, waterfall model. But when you talk about your agile project management, we are looking into a user who is going to use this site. What is their requirement, right? Then we delete that. I know this done when. So this is something KPI. When I know that okay, this website is ready, right? When I create this, create a user interface, upload photos, integrate a payment management system, integrate a CRM database, right? So this is when I know the. So this is a specific acceptance test. When I know that okay, these are the criteria, acceptance criteria has been met, then only the project is over or the at least the sprint is over. So if I break down my product backlog to the sprint backlog, this is the requirement from user, this is the acceptance criteria. Then in that particular sprint, what we need to do? So we need to build a front end of the website, right? So this is where the you are breaking it to a deliverables, right? So you are starting with the product backlog. In the release backlog, you are providing what are the acceptance criteria for those requirement. Then once you add up those acceptance criteria, then you are saying that okay, what are the things we need to do? So let us try to understand through few examples. So this is what, like I said, withdrawing cash, right? My user story is as a regular fintech application user, I want to withdraw cash from my bank account using this fintech mobile application so that I can easily draw out cash even without using my card. So right now, if this SBI, Axis, or any other bank, so they're going to implement this. What is that user story? User story for the end user who is going to withdraw cash. So for that to happen, what are the acceptance criteria? User can log in into the mobile app. User can enter the desired amount to withdraw. Desired amount is within user's current balance. Account are updated concurrently after validation. Email and in-app confirmation of transactions are sent to the user. So these are the 5 things has to happen. Once I'm showing it a prototype, once I'm showing this to a my bank will validate that, right? So if let's say I am a TCS or I'm from TCS or Infosys, right? So this is a user story is provided from the client customer, let's say Axis or SBI Bank. Then they'll provide that what are the acceptance criteria when you know that this application is ready. So any user any my end customer can log into the mobile app, specific mobile application. Let's say that SBI ATM application or Axis Bank ATM application, whatever amount. Generally, what you do in ATM now, what they're doing in the mobile phone, and it is linked to the ATM, right? They'll stand in front of ATM, they'll provide key into their application. Once they say yes, money will be withdrawn, right? So this is acceptance criteria. So this is something like, let's say, like generally for website registration, login and account, right? So who is your user? Mobile. Epic is nothing but a combination of user stories, like in your traditional project management work package, right? Work package divided into different tasks, right? Here Epic is divided into user stories. So what in the registration, if registration is one Epic, as a user, I can register for the application by entering my email, password, and confirming my password. So this is a requirement from the user story. Now, for this to happen, I will divide into different tasks or deliverables. So I should, to complete this, I can some user can register by entering email, password, and confirming my password, right? So I should have those three fields in the website: email ID, password, and confirm password. When somebody is entering password, it will check the strength of the password. If the password strength is weak, it will say that okay, your password is not valid, please put some additional characters or numbers. Then it will make sure that whatever password they have put in the confirm password, it is matching with their previous password. So these are the steps. So these are something somebody has to code it, right? So these are the requirement. These are the few checks which will happen so that this user story is complete. So if I'm building a website both for mobile user and web user, so there are three things: registration, login, and my account, right? So for each of them, my team will divide into different particular deliverables, right? And those deliverables will be in your work task, or deliverables will be there in part of your sprint backlog. Out of this, what we are going to complete first in our first sprint, whether we'll start with the web user part or your mobile user part, that as a team you have to discuss. Okay, let us start with registration both for both web user and mobile user parallelly, and our sprint duration is 4 weeks, right? So in the next 4 weeks, at least this part, registration of mobile user and registration for web user module should be complete. Now, once you complete this, after 1 month, you go to your, in the sprint review meeting, you show it to your product owner, stakeholders, users, right? Okay, we have completed the registration module. So they'll check as a user, they'll try to register using that application. Somebody from the mobile, somebody from the desktop, they're able to do it, or they'll provide their feedback. Sometimes they might say that, okay, let us try with actual users only, actual customers. So actual users or customers will try it out and provide their feedback. Then based on their feedback, if they say that it looks okay, you can go ahead. Or they might say that no, change this. So this password which they're asking, that should be a limit that okay, it need to have a character, one capitalized letter, some numbers. So put that condition. Now again you go back and work on that, right? So this will again get added up to your product backlog, right? Is this part clear? How your agile or Scrum methodology works? Anyone having any doubt? So there are different roles, components of the Scrum roles. Scrum ceremonies means what are different type of meeting happens. Ceremonies basically, rather than calling it as meeting, they call it as ceremonies, right? Scrum artifacts, right? What are the documentation, right? What are the different document type, right? Product backlog, sprint backlog, right? So Scrum roles, stakeholders, basically stakeholders from whom the project or user, let's say this is the Axis Bank or SBI Bank, right? The most important role involved in Scrum, the regional team is developing a product, right? If I'm building that application, fintech application, for whom I am building, for this SBI or for Axis Bank, right? Business owner, a special stakeholder, often the team sponsor, champion, or the control the budget for the team, right? This is somebody who is internal to the team. Maybe in the TCS or Infosys I'm building, this is somebody, the product manager or product director, right? Director of product or director of that development team. So because he has the ownership of this product, right? So stakeholders are contacting the business owner. Okay, we have this project, you have to complete this. So somebody in a director or a general manager level, right? Then now this has been delegated to the product owner. So this person is a kind of a coordinator between business owner or stakeholders. Any requirement changes has happened, it will come through the product owner, right? Then Scrum Master is somebody who just looks into the process part of it. Do the work analysis, design, code, test, document, data collect checks, whether work is required for a desired outcome. He is basically kind of a overseer, kind of a supervisor kind of thing. But again, the challenge is he's not going to assign any task. He will just facilitate. You are not able to complete this work. You need some learning. You need some help. He will coordinate with the right person, right experts, right? Sorry, Scrum Master here, then Scrum team members. Scrum team members are the development team, are the persons who are actually doing the work, right? So these are the roles, or these are the definition of roles. In generally in a traditional project management, what happens? We have stakeholders, we might have business owners, but we have somebody. So there are no Scrum Master or product owner. We have somebody called as a project manager, right? Then you have a project team. Everybody else is a part of the project team. But here the role of the project manager is divided into two ways: product owner and Scrum Master. And some that capability or not capability, I'll say that authority has been taken away, because generally what happens, once you have in that authority mode, you will force somebody, right? Do this task by this time, right? And in this kind of environment, that will not work, right? When you do not have a scope clarity, you say that complete this work, that will not happen. So Scrum ceremonies, what are the different type of meetings, right? Sprint planning, daily Scrum, this is the 15 minutes meeting. Sprint review after completion of deliverables of that 2 to 4 weeks. Then sprint retrospective, right? So this is what did you learn in that particular sprint, right? Sprint planning will happen in the beginning of the sprint, right? So generally for a 1 day, first 4 hours before lunch, let's say 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 1 p.m., right? Creating product backlog, determining the sprint goal. So what need to be completed within these 4 weeks or 3 weeks, what you have decided. Participants are product owners, Scrum Master, and Scrum team. So this is the first half of the day. Second half of the day, creating sprint backlog. That means out of this product backlog, right? Let's say there are 100 tasks. So like I said, so there are three parts: registration, login, then there is a account setup, right? So there are three steps. So out of that, so this is overall, but mobile users and desktop users becomes a product backlog. Out of that, registration part only, registration of through a mobile phone or registration through a website, registration through a desktop or a laptop. So that only will be taking in this sprint. Let us first complete the registration part, then we'll discuss how much time it will take, right? Whether it is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Once we discuss and decide that 4 weeks will be constant, then in the next 4 weeks we'll complete whatever other steps or other tasks are remaining. Okay. So this is a collaborative meeting in the beginning of each sprint between the product owner, Scrum Master, and the team. Right. So every sprint, before each sprint, 1 day will be dedicated to discuss what are the tasks will be taken in the next sprint. Right. Fundamental process flow of Scrum. So this is where the work actually happens. A short fixed length period of time. Goal is to produce backlog items into renewable products that stakeholders can provide feedback on. So this is where this sprint work need to be decided very intelligently, right? Because it is not that you are just doing some task, right? By doing those tasks at the end, you are completing certain user story, so that when you go to the stakeholders, you can say that okay, the registration module is complete, so that they can check and provide that feedback. So if I say that I have written 100 lines of Java code, I have written the front end of the website with CSS and HTML, and it is partially complete. So user cannot visualize this, right? So it is not about how much work you have done. At the end, user should be able to open something and see that for himself, okay, this work has been done. They can provide their feedback, right? So this is where the major challenge happens, where you have to decide in the next sprint what we need to complete. Right? Sprint planning allows the product owner to work with the team to negotiate what backlog items the team will work on in order to meet the release goals, right? Product release, right? So every now and then, all the applications what you're using, getting a release update, right? So that is again going through those sprint, right? Going through all the development. Right? Scrum Master ensures team agrees to the realistic goals. This is something the role of a Scrum Master, because he or she has that experience of last few years. He knows that within these few days or few weeks, this much work only can be completed, and it need to be in a format such that some part of work user can visualize, user can see, right? Daily Scrum, this is basically a very short 15 minutes meeting which is held every day before the team starts working. So generally what happens if you, like some of you get into this Infosys, TCS or any kind of software development company. So every day your Scrum Master will come and say that, okay, stand up, please stand up 10-15 minutes. So all of you will stand up in that team just very quickly. What did you do since the last Scrum? That means yesterday, right? What are you doing until the next Scrum? That means today what you are going to do. Scrum, every day you are having that meeting, right? What is stopping you to getting on the work? What are the challenges? So these are the three questions. Very quickly, I'll say that, okay, yesterday I completed this code. Now it is integrated to the database so that it can just check that whether it is existing user or a new user. If somebody enters the email ID, it can be checked. What I'm going to do it today. So I'm going to like provide some additional security encryption so that whenever somebody providing that email ID, so that will be like invisible, that will be hidden to any other browser. Like if somebody has put some cookies or something, it will not be shown to that. So that is a security requirement from the bank, right? So that part I'm going to work. What is stopping you to getting on with that work? I do not have the, let's say, required software, or I do not have the expertise on this security enhancement. I need some help, right? So like this, everybody will talk about that. Sprint review, after each sprint, let's say 3 weeks or 4 weeks is your sprint duration, is held at the end of each sprint. So this is where outside stakeholders will come, external stakeholders, let's say the bank team members, internal stakeholders, your product director or the marketing director, Scrum team, other team members, somebody from the other team members might also jump. Then now they will see that, okay, if I say I have completed the registration module, they'll look and say that, okay, whether registration module has been completed, how does it look, right? So they'll provide that feedback, right? So this is something known as potentially shippable increment or potentially shippable product, right? So every sprint you should be able to do something which is, so this is where potentially shippable, right? So I can ship, right? I can release it, some part of the work, right? Overview, demonstrate. So sometimes you have to demonstrate, okay, this is what your application user registration will happen. These are the keys, these are the challenges, or some additional security you have to discuss, and based on the feedback you have to adapt, right? Then if there are certain changes, again it will be getting into your product backlog. Okay, these are the additional changes we have to do, right? Informal should not distract team members of doing their work, right? So this is not like a traditional project. Why didn't you do it, right? Why this has not been done, right? In a traditional project management, if it is a highway construction project, government official will come and you were promised that, okay, within 3 months this part of the work would have been completed. Why it has not been done, right? So it is not like that. It is something just to show that how much team has worked, or how to like kind of go ahead with and complete the other work, right? And here the product owner is the owner, right? So like a project manager takes ownership in a traditional project management, here the product manager is the owner. Product owner is the owner. Sprint retrospective, after this informal meeting you will have a separate meeting, team member only with the Scrum Master. Here what happens, sprint review, all the stakeholders are there, right? In the sprint retrospective, only the team members and the Scrum Master is there. What worked well, what are the new things what we did, what could have been improved, where did we lagged behind, what will commit to the doing the next sprint. So this is internally, product owner is not there, right? You are discussing what actually we can commit in the next sprint, right? Scrum team members make actionable commitment, right? So this is something which will change, right? So this is what we talked about, continuous improvement. So each sprint the directive, or at least our commitment should be to complete some work and get something, learn something new, so that we can implement that in the next sprint, right? So next part is Scrum artifacts. We'll discuss that whatever remaining. So this is again important. How do you decide what is the length of a user story? These things which we'll discuss in the next class, right? So what is a product backlog, sprint backlog, potentially shippable product? What is the meaning of that? The remaining part we'll be discussing in the next class. Okay. Anybody having any doubt?
Sir, I missed my attendance.
Okay, roll number 225. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes,
Yes, sir. So 153.
153. Okay. Okay. So that's all for today. We'll meet next class to complete this agile. Okay. Chalo. Bye bye.